I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, March 11th, 2025, held and transmitted electronically via Council Chambers, located at 39 South Shore Road, Lake Cowichan. I'd like to acknowledge that we are gathered here tonight on the unceded territories of the Subatsit First Nation. I want to thank them for sharing their land with us to live, work, and play. Are there any introduction of late items? It's a good start. Looking for an approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Marcus, seconded by Mayor McGonigal. All those in favour? That is passed. First up, we have public input. So if any members of the public would like to get up and speak on any of the agenda items from tonight, you can come forward to the podium and speak for 3 minutes on any subjects on the agenda. Nothing from the crowd. Next up, we have minutes from the last Committee of the Whole meeting for information only. Are there any comments on that? No, moving on. Business arising. I don't see any business arising. We'll jump forward into delegations. I think first we have Cowichan Green Community, the year in review. I believe that is Vanessa Data. Is that right? Thank you.
I told you it would sound better in that accent.
Just rules of engagement. I think you have 7 minutes to speak. We don't make any decisions here tonight, and if you need more than 7 minutes, we can grant you more time to talk.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. My name is Vanessa Data, and I am the incoming Executive Director at the Cowichan Green Community. I'm joined here this evening by Judy Stafford, who is the outgoing Executive Director at Cowichan Green Community. And we're here tonight to show you our 2024 Year in Review video. So some highlights and updates and stats on what we were up to this past year. Now, anyone in the room who might not be familiar with our organization, we are focused on food. We provide a host of regional services and programs that seek to increase community access to food, as well as that seek to increase local food production and procurement. And so we run, as I noted, kind of a whole swath of regional programs, a number of which operate within the Lake Cowichan and region, including our Refresh program, where we redistribute food from grocery stores that might otherwise not have an end use, but is still perfectly viable. And we redistribute that into the community to those in need. So, and for the community here, I think this was a project that was first supported by Bob Day a number of years ago. So it's nice to have that kind of continuity and connection within the community here. So I will keep my notes here short. Just thank you for the opportunity. And if there's any questions at the end of the video, Judy or I would be more than happy to answer them. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thanks very much for that presentation. I'd heard of your organisation, but I didn't know how large in your scope of work was. I'm glad that you did showcase your smash burger that you serve at that store, because I've definitely put away a few of those, and I hope more people discover those. But no, thanks for all your work that you're doing in the community. It's awesome to see. Anything else? Yep.
I was just going to say, a friend of mine, many years ago, she was part of the Refresh Marketplace when it started up, Nancy Risk. And so just hearing all the stories that lead up to, when the thought was started and then right through till it opened, pretty amazing just hearing from somebody on the front line of it. So that's just an overwhelming thank you for what you bring to the Cowichan Valley and whatnot, for all your hard work. And yes. Yeah. Wonderful.
I just want to say that the last presentation we had, you seem to be growing more and more, and I'm actually quite happy about the Meals on Wheels, because I just look at it as one more layer of security for people who are on their own, that they know somebody's coming, and if there's no response, then I'm sure that they would alert somebody to say this person hasn't answered the door. And so, I think that that's one nice component to that food program. Thank you.
I couldn't let this go. I remember the first time Miss Stafford came to the CBRD seeking funding for the green community, and the uptick of the directors around the table to provide the funding for the van that you saw in the video. And I believe there is quite a few kilometers on that van right now. And I know you're probably looking for a replacement at some time in the future. So I am just putting that out there to anyone in the community who's watching, that this is a special program that delivers to the West Cowichan area, diverting food from landfills at an exorbitant amount of 300,000 pounds in excess. And there's nothing wrong with the food except maybe a bruise, or it doesn't look good on the shelves. And just to see the diversity of the programs that you have expanded in the time that I have known you is just unbelievable. And as I said earlier, this is not a farewell tour, because every rock musician who retires does a comeback tour. So I'm looking forward to the fire siren turning off and moving forward. But thank you very much for all you have done, and I look forward to the work that you will continue to do.
Some interesting wrap it up music, isn't it?
We'll call it that.
We may just pause for a minute before we bring up our next guest.
I just want to reassure everyone that is not a tsunami warning or an earthquake warning or a fire warning. That is to call out our fire department first responders for an incident that has occurred, and we appreciate everything they do for us. Please don't feel that you need to stick around for the remainder of this. You've done your presentation and you have a long drive home, so feel free if you wish.
So after that dramatic pause, next up we have Chelsea Lake from the Youth Excellence Society, re the future plans at the Cowichan Lake Education Centre.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here. I've been coming to the Cowichan Lake Centre since I was 15 years old, which is around the year 2000. So a really long time, and I've known Dalton since then and made many of your acquaintances in the meantime. So I'm here to talk a little bit about the program that we run at the center each summer, which is called the Yes Camp, and tell you a little bit about the impact of that program, because I think everyone in this room should know the kind of work that's happening at the center and the impact it's having on the youth in BC. So we can move. So I came to the camp for the first time when I was 14. As a participant. I was sponsored by the Hornby Island Co-op to go. The camp I went to was up in Moorcroft, but we've moved around over the years. But we've had the pleasure of being at the center now for 25 years or so, and have agreements in place to be there for the coming years. We have a 5-year agreement that we're signing, so we hope to have a long-lasting committed relationship with the center and with the town of Lake Cowichan. So our vision for teens is to belong to communities of care and respect that nurture their capacity for excellence. And it really comes home in the mission where we want to build inclusive communities where all youth thrive. And if anyone here has youth or teens in their life, you might know that for a lot of teenagers, it's hard to find relationships, connections, communities that are really meaningful and really positive. Teens don't always get that in their schools. They don't always get it in their clubs and in their personal relationships. And so at the Yes, we really build programs that, that nurture their excellence and help them to build really healthy relationships. So we run overnight leadership camps for 14 to 18-year-olds. We do skills training, so they're learning life skills like conflict resolution and cooperation, team building, all at the beautiful center at Cowichan Lake. And we bus youth from all over BC, so we have 80 different communities that we serve. So we like to think that we create a strong sense of belonging in vibrant communities of peers and positive role models who care. Almost all of our staff are volunteers, and most of them are alumni of the program. So they've had their lives changed, and they come back to produce that same experience for other youth. Some of the surveys that we've and evaluations that we've conducted have told us that 83% of our participants have significantly improved their sense of self-worth, 81% improved knowledge and understanding of how to be more inclusive, 93% enjoy their break from technology because we take all their cell phones. They really don't like that for the first little while, but by the end of the week, they do appreciate that break from the stress and anxiety of technology. As I said, it says 80 and 90 communities there. That's 2 different years. But most of our youth come with support from financial subsidies and sponsorships, so over 50%. And so we get funding from the co-op sector, from credit unions and co-ops, from service clubs, from local foundations to subsidize the cost of all of our programs, but then specifically 50% of the 400 or so youth who come with financial help. So we're really working to break down any kind of barriers to access to be able to bring those youth here. So I wanted to come and talk to you tonight because all of those youth, 400 youth and about 60 volunteers and staff a summer are coming to your beautiful community, to the beautiful center, spending time at Cowichan Lake, appreciating and having a life-changing experience here. And I think it's important that you know that their memories of having that life-changing week are situated here on the land of the Subasat Nation, in the town of Lake Cowichan, and it's really a foundational experience for those youth, as it was for me. So as the executive director, I've had the pleasure of watching thousands and thousands of youth go through this experience and go home really with, as changed people. We hear back from parents, from them themselves. Even years later, I just got an email today from someone who said, "Oh, I went in 2015 and I just wanted to reach out to say like what a huge impact this program has meant to me." So I have handed you out some materials so that you have some further information and statistics about the work that we're doing. But I really just wanted to come and share that impact story and tell you that, Dalton and I have worked together for a long time, and the Yes and our board of directors, we're a registered charity within the province, are interested in continuing to come to Lake Cowichan and continuing to have a relationship with the town and the center for many years. And in support of that, our board has, put forward that we're willing to give financial contribution to improvements that happen at the center. So, for example, Dalton and I have been working together with the Outdoor Recreation Council of BC, writing a grant to see if we can do some trail development on the site, with a contribution from the Yes and a contribution from the town and a contribution from the grantees, and working to develop the website for the center as well, because in our mind, any improvements that happen at the center then directly improve the experience of our staff and volunteers and the many youth and families who are affected through that work. So I do have a short video to show you as well, that'll just give you a little bit more of the experience of the camp from the youth themselves. And then if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Around in the province for almost 50 years, and we think about leadership as like a snowball effect. The small actions, the way that we treat other people creates an effect in the world for what kind of relationships we have, what kind of communities we build. So we're trying to instill in youth those kinds of values and skills that allow them to make a really positive impact on the people in their lives.
At Yes Camp, it's kind of just this nice little parallel dimension of sorts where everyone can be themselves, no judgment. It's always a safe space here. And when you come, you know that you can make friendships that'll last a lifetime.
It's truly just such a magical place to come here. I always leave this camp as a better person. I always leave this camp with a smile on my face. The amount of dance parties, the games, the communities, getting to swim, getting to just literally live with these magical people for a week. I can't even describe how grateful I am to be here.
Already met so many amazing, incredible, and talented people who are all wonderful in their own unique ways. And I think that's the really special thing about this place.
It can turn you to just a more honest, a more genuine person through the activities and the things that you can learn at this camp.
My mom has said multiple times, like, I come back like a way different person every single time, like in the best way. Like, I've grown a lot.
I know a lot of the staff are also like alumni of the program, and so for a lot of us it really feels like coming home, coming back to a place that was like so foundational in the way that we have become adults and move through this world. For me personally, it really feels like a beautiful opportunity to get to pay it forward, to get to give this gift that I was so beautifully given back to a new generation is just one of the most empowering and powerful and like fulfilling experiences I've ever had.
This is my place, this is my home, and it's always going to be.
Any questions?
I just wanted to ask how the participants are selected.
So we take pretty much anyone who wants to come. We have space this summer for 455 youth over 7 weeks. And so they're selected in different ways. For sponsorships, different specific sponsors will select youth. But anyone who wants to come can sign up and pay the registration fee or apply for a subsidy through our website. So we have a huge amount of different subsidies available, and we're kind of always fundraising for further amounts to make sure that anyone who wants to come can attend. We do have a shortage of youth from the town. So if anyone knows teens, we really don't have a lot of participation from your local youth. We get a number from Duncan, but there is space for Lake Cowichan teens for sure.
Follow up. So how do you advertise to let people in the community know besides community services?
Yeah, so from our side, we're advertising virtually through Google Ads to kind of all of British Columbia, as well as through Instagram and Facebook. Specific sponsors will advertise in their own ways through their networks and newsletters, etc. So in terms of local sponsors, Mid-Island Co-op typically sponsors 5 youth from the area, like from their whole region. Each summer, Peninsula Co-op does the same. There's Coastal Community Credit Union, a few funders in kind of the nearby area. And then, we send out sponsor packages to anyone who's on our contact list, including all schools across the province. So the local school would get a package as well. Anything else?
Yeah, thanks very much for that presentation, and it's great to hear that you're collaborating on certain projects and websites. I guess my question to you is, can you do the impossible and get Dalton to advertise the Cowichan Lake Education Centre on social media?
Yeah, we're working on it.
You are?
I got 2 people working with him, Emily and Nate, who are helping to develop that website, and I'm sure they'll give him some nudges in that direction.
Okay, I'll keep nudging too. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, next up we move on to correspondence. Our first item is the Lake Days 2025 plans for the town barbecue. Would anyone like to speak on that? No? Does anyone know who added this agenda item?
There was a correspondence from Pat just looking for the space, and I think she has mentioned, they want to know the town's interest in still sponsoring the town barbecue and how that's going to take place. So,
June.
I would imagine that is the case, isn't it?
I think we've done it for a number of years, and I would like to continue with our portion of contributing the tickets, et cetera, and handling that. The Lake Days Society takes care of the purchase of the steaks, and the fire department does the cooking of that, with many thanks. So I would hope that we would continue that. I think that the society can come forward with a request for us to continue on with the barbecue, and we will respond accordingly if that comes.
Okay, moving on. Next up, we have the owners of Strata Corporation, long number, with an issue with the manhole at the bottom of Lake Park Road and request a petition the province for a resolution. Would anyone like to speak on that? To our Superintendent of Public Works, would you like to speak on this?
Yeah, so I've talked to Bill briefly about it. I need some more information from him, and then I can put a bit of a report together and discuss it with the CEO, how we want to proceed with that.
And just so I know process, so does all correspondence always come to council and then it can go back to staff? Is that how it usually works? Because wouldn't this be dealt with at a staffing level and then a report presented to us?
I'm sure it could be, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so moving forward, we'll get staff to report on that and bring it back to council. Everyone happy on that? Oh, Mayor McGonigal?
I think part of the concern is there may be budgetary concerns if there is some capital projects that need to be done, and that would come to this table for approval. So that was the process, I believe, just to give a heads up that there was a concern within that property, and there's some co-ownership perhaps, and we'll look at co-sponsoring of the fix if possible is the route that was attempted to be verbalized within the correspondence. As we move forward, I think we direct staff to respond accordingly with a staff report and report back to council on next moves.
Next time we move up to reports. First up, we have the Director of Finance for February's financial report.
Yes, the financial statements are attached for your review. Keep in mind that the 2024 numbers haven't been finalized as work on year-end is still progressing. And the 2025 budget numbers as presented are preliminary and subject to change as we've had no budget meetings yet. Lakeview Park opened up on Monday. The reservation system went exceptionally well this year. 75,000 in reservations made within the first 4 hours. We've received some grant and aid requests. Once budget meetings are set, we'll bring them forward to a future meeting. There's a digital display that we looked at and had installed. It didn't work very well due to the sun beating down in that spot. So they've come back, Promax Video has come back with 2 alternatives shown there. It's a lot more expensive. The other option we looked at was under $2,000, so these are a lot more. They are recommending the display option if we do decide to go ahead, just because it's easier to manage. It's not as complicated and takes up less space in that window. So if council is wanting to proceed, just need a motion to that effect as the budget's not yet passed.
Would you also like to speak on the consultancy fees?
Sure. Yeah, so we're looking for an additional $30,000 in consulting fees for recruitment costs, and a motion for that is also needed as the budget's not yet been passed.
Okay, so if we could tick off the first call to action in this one, so it's to discuss the display, digital display. Would anyone like to speak on that? Okay, we're moving it by Councillor Sandhu, seconded by Councillor Austin. Discussion on that?
So with the display with the higher resolution, is there a guarantee that that will work in that window?
Apparently that one's 1,500 nits, and that's what's used for outdoor and indoor displays. So if it's not working, and there is nothing else out there that will work unless we spend a lot more money.
I guess my question is that whoever's recommended this display to us, they know our situation here? And
yes, they've been on site. It's the same people that did all the audio video equipment here in the council chambers, and yeah, they'll come on site to install this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor McGonigal.
And since the implementation of the renovation, we've discussed how we can communicate better, and this was one option moving forward, was to get some information out to the public as they go to the post office, come out, have a look at the board. We had anticipated perhaps an outside digital display, but that would probably lead to vandalism, et cetera, perhaps. So this was the option, and I think at any opportunity that we can communicate to the public, whether it be social media, website, Facebook, or digital display, if a town meeting is coming up, for instance, and you don't have to drive all the way to the arena to find out that there is one. You can find out through the digital board that is advertising, or taxes are due, or whatever we choose to put on there. Heat domes or that sort of effect could be advertised within that. So I think it's important that we take every opportunity to communicate with every avenue that we have.
I just want to read out the cost again. So they're looking for a display of $6,393 for a screen to display information on. To me, that's a crazy amount of money. I understand getting information out to people, but we don't take that seriously around here. Like, I think money could be better spent with a communications person, like a contractor communications person, but to spend that amount of money on a TV display when we're only hitting the people that are walking past this office, like, if you want to get the word out, that is not money well spent. But again, I am just one voice here. Is there any other discussion on this topic? No, so we've got a question. We have a motion on the table, and that is to purchase or budget for the display using high-resolution display at a cost of $6,393 plus shipping and taxes. I'll call the question. All those in favour? Those against? That motion is passed. Okay, moving on to the next call to action in this report, and that is a budget request for consulting fees in the amount of $30,000. It's being requested for recruitment fees, costs. Could I get some clarification on the breakdown of that amount of money? Yes.
I put this forward for consulting needs that may be anticipated for the year. There is no specific amount that we have approved yet. It will come forward. And the reason I brought this forward was with the retirement of our CAO, we'll be looking at hiring a consulting firm to do some searches for us, and it will come at a cost. So without putting some budget funds forward for that, we would have to do a budget amendment moving forward to approve that. So pre-budget, I thought it was prudent that we at least put some funds aside for anticipated consultant fees. That's not to say that all of it will be expended. And I'll take you back to April of 2023 when we approved a $25,000 traffic study that was never expended. So I was hoping that it would come from reserves of that amount moving forward instead of requisition.
Okay, we have a recommendation. Would anyone like to move those consulting fees? Mayor McGonigal.
I'll second with a question.
Seconded by Councillor Sandhu with discussion.
So through to the mayor, do you want it then coming out of reserves? Like, do you want that part of your motion?
I will leave it to staff to bring back how it will be.
Okay.
Then I think council is privy to an amount for the service that isn't quite close to that amount, or isn't anywhere close to that amount. Is there additional services that I may be missing?
Perhaps anticipated in the future, yes. It's just anticipatory. Oh, that's a good word.
It's too late for that word. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, and that is to approve the consulting fees in the amount of $30,000. All those in favour? That motion is passed. Now we can move on to the financial report. Is there any discussion about this report? I will start off. Just through to our Superintendent of Public Works. Are we still anticipating to spend $400,000 in the parking lot beside us?
I haven't looked at that for a while, but those funds were not just for the parking lot. There was a few other items around the building here, the flag poles and a few other items, but I don't think it will be 400,000. No. It probably won't be 400,000, but the amount we had put there was for the parking lot and a few other items like flag poles for the building and a few items that had to be finished here. That's why that amount's there, but we won't be using it all.
It's a heck of a lot of money. So I guess that'll come forward. We'll get a chance to chat with you before budget's finalised on that.
Yeah, we can.
But to me, it seems, I know it's a rollover, but I questioned it last year as well. Yeah.
I've recently reached out to the engineers to find out where we're sitting with that whole thing, so a budget meeting, I should have some answers.
Are there, sorry, follow, is there a plan, has this been designed?
It is, yes.
It has been designed and could be shared
As
with
far as
council?
I know, Joseph was working on that, so I don't, that's why I've reached out to find out what's happening with that.
Okay. Any other questions? Oh. I'll keep going. Oh, you got one? Sorry. Okay, man, we're going.
So just a question on, you have, in your preamble, you said that the final numbers were not in. Do we anticipate when the auditors will be presenting to council?
I think we've got budget meeting dates, so we should set some meeting dates today because we're getting close to having to pass for May 15th.
And a follow-up, if I may. So at that time, we will set the auditors' meeting date as well?
They're coming in April, and once they're complete, we'll set a date.
They still have some work to do. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I thought they were finished.
No.
Just looking at the overall deficit projected this year at 1.45 million. Last year we were looking at a deficit as well, or projected deficit of 900,000, but we end up coming at 1.5 million in the black. From what I can see in the budget from last year, was that because we didn't complete a lot of the work that we'd planned? Or what's kind of the reasoning behind that?
Well, the budget's done on a cash basis, but when we actually do the financials and whatnot, capital is not an expense. It's an asset that we then amortize over time. So that's one of the reasons why.
So it's a bit of a magic trick. So if we're looking at 1.4 million and a suggested tax increase of 4.9%, are we in the same boat as last year, or should we consider increasing this a lot more to cover some of that deficit?
I think that's probably best left for a budget discussion when I can show you sort of what's coming from surplus because of grants that have gone into surplus, so they have to come in as a deficit. So it's a bigger answer than maybe what we have time for here tonight.
Got one last one. Wouldn't be a financial chat if I didn't grill Dalton a bit. Just with the info centre, I know that numbers were down drastically from last year. So we're looking at 9 phone calls over the whole season and visitors down 45%. And that was seen around the region, but especially hit hard with us. Are we going to reimagine the info centre, or are we just going to keep plugging away with it? This could also be discussed at budgetary discussions, but I thought I'd raise the subject now since I've got you.
Yeah, at this point, I don't have anything to add to that except for the brief conversation that we've had before. I mean, the numbers are the numbers. And I think that for the most part, we have been discovered. And a lot of people, as we've talked about before, are using the phone, etc. And this council in the past believes that have people manning that visitor center is good. They're ambassadors, and they do a really good job of what they're doing. And that's the basis that we've been working on. But those figures are accurate.
I guess the reason why I bring it up now is because we have to staff it as of May. So by the time we've had budgetary talks, we're going to be in April anyway. So is there a plan? We have staff in place to run it exactly the same as
Yes,
last season?
we do have staff available, yes.
Okay. That's all I have on that. Yes.
I think us, the council and staff, having a planning session, this would be a good item on the agenda, is if we want to talk about the future of the info center, like do we want to change it, whatever, then I think that's where it needs to happen.
Fair enough.
I agree. It's just I'm trying not to yell about when's that budgetary discussions happening, so I thought I'd jump on that early. Are there any other questions since I've hijacked this session on the financial report? No? We'll move on. Okay, we have 2 building inspection reports for January and February. Is there any discussion on those? No. Just for information. And then we have the Fire Department monthly incident report for the total of $9,828.05. Would anyone like to move that amount? Councillor Austin moved it, seconded by Councillor Vamaka. Any discussion? All those in favour? That has passed. Next up, we have budget dates for meeting. Budget discussion, dates for meeting. Would anyone like to speak on that? I think the last meeting we had direction to staff to come up with dates that would work for them, right? Have we received those?
Yes, just talking to our Director of Finance, just trying to get these done as quickly as possible because of the pending date of the May 15th, which has to be adopted. So this was put on the agenda to basically look at council's availability kind of sooner rather than later. So I don't know if next week's too early to begin these meetings.
Could we look at next Tuesday's availability for staff for the initial budget discussion? At your leisure, we can do it in the afternoon if you want to try to accommodate that. And we can keep it within business hours to try to keep people focused. And anyone who can't make it, that would be Councillor Frisbee and perhaps.
How about, could I suggest that we work outside of the meeting to try and come up with a date that works with everyone? The CVRD uses a really cool app or website where you can go on and put all your available times and then spits out a meeting date that works for everyone. Maybe we could do that. But yeah, I'm away for the next week. I'm out of the country.
Okay.
Councillor Austin?
Is there any day this week that we could do it? We still have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week.
Yeah, we got meetings all the time.
To do the planning session, we talked about doing a planning session with just the managers.
I think it's best if we take this out of the meeting. I'm away for the next. I'll fly out tomorrow morning. Councillor Vamaka?
The question, are we with all department managers, or are we doing them one at a time?
Again, I guess we can figure this out outside of the meeting, because we haven't had them enough time to do that already. Sorry, Councillor Sandhu?
I was just going to say, I'd like for all of us to be here. So if we can't meet next week, if we can meet the following week. And I'm just also wondering if we do like a day session where we could start with the planning, start at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., whatever, use the whole day to see where we get. Do your planning and then start your budget discussions. Like, I'd rather use a full day, or at least the working hours of this office, to at least get a start instead of an hour here or an hour there. Like, I find that's just draining. Either a Wednesday, Thursday, yeah.
And I think it's important that these be available to the public as well, that they be allowed to at least have a look at what is taking place in our planning session and our budget session as we move forward and make the decisions that impact them the most. So I would look at that as a possibility, but as long as they are advertised to the public and the public is available to attend, I would be approved of that.
No further discussion? Okay, moving on, Parks, Recreation and Culture. This next one is my agenda item. We chatted about this last time at the Committee of the Whole meeting to do with sunscreen. what I did was I went away and took everyone's thoughts and concerns about action from the town on sunscreen, and I've put together a statement and a recommendation that I will move now, and that is that the town of Lake Cowichan put out a statement advising residents and businesses of our stance on the sale of harmful sunscreens in our community. This statement should be released on International Water Day, which is March 22nd, 2025. Following that, we direct staff to research the legality of a bylaw that bans all sunscreens that are not non-nano mineral sunscreens being sold in the town of Lake Cowichan, and our capacity to enforce such a bylaw. A timeline of January 1st, 2026 would be targeted if a bylaw is realistic. And I move that. Seconded by Mayor McGonigal. Any discussion? Mayor McGonigal.
And I think we've discussed this many times in the past, but at least to make a statement to that effect, that we are looking at possibilities and not going down the same route that some other municipalities have done with bylaws and then have it go to court and overturned by that situation. Doing the investigation prior to the bylaw implementation, I think, is imperative to ensuring that it will succeed.
Sandu?
I was just going to say, I think education on this is really important, that we do more than, I don't support a bylaw because you have to have the enforcement to back that up, and we don't have a bylaw on weekends, so that can be a problem. But I think working with the Cowichan Lake River Stewardship, the Cowichan Watershed Board, and trying to formulate some sort of plan to go out in the community, Saywell Park during the summer, different parks and that, and just educate and show what is a good sunscreen for the river and what isn't, and what our local businesses offer. And then at least that gives people something to think about. Even a little piece of paper with something, they can take it home with them, and it's just food for thought.
Councillor Austin?
Yes, I agree with that too, and maybe we can bring that up at our May town public meeting and bring the information. I don't think a bylaw would work either, as some of the companies that are selling the different kinds of sunscreens that we don't like, I don't think we can tell them what to do. We are not Trumpists, hopefully, but I think education's the key in everything. It's like recycling or anything else. It's the key. Did I say the Trump word? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just to follow up on that. So the BC Conservation Foundation have been working in our community for the past 5 years. So they're out. They have summer students that set up kiosks around the lake and river, Saywell Park. They've also, in every store in Lake Cowichan, they have little handouts of what sunscreen should be there. So all the things you stated are agreed upon, but are in place already. And it's the BC Conservation Foundation that's called on us. I understand people's concerns on bylaws and enforcement. I think we'd struggle to enforce any bylaw at the moment, but that can also be enforced on Fridays if the store is doing that. To say that it would be Trumpist to ban harmful sunscreen from being sold in Lake Cowichan, to me, is ridiculous, but it must be dramatic effect you're looking for. So again, I guess there's a question on the floor. It's been first and seconded for the motion. I will now call the question on that. All those in favour? Those against? That motion is passed. Moving on, Public Works and Environment Services, through to our Superintendent of Public Works for a progress on the sanitary sewer upgrades.
So as reported last meeting, we had hired a company to desludge the lagoons. So last week they spent setting up for it, and today they have actually started desludging. And that's going to be about a week's process. That's about it.
I just have a question. When we had our beloved Nagy here, we always asked every week, every month, if we could have written reports. If we could have a little written report where you add to it, like what's happening each time. I know there's not a lot this time, but
for the lagoon, or
yeah, for the sewer.
Yeah.
Yeah. please.
Okay, thank you for that. Sorry, we're back. We're back.
I'll go back. Desludging is happening in cell 1 and 2.
Just cell 1.
Cell 1 for now? And that will give us some capacity as that is removed, correct?
That's right, yeah.
Thank you.
We remeasured all the ponds. 2 didn't have enough sludge in it to do anything. It was 1 that was causing the problems. So that's being desludged.
And part of the concern, if I may continue, Mr. Chair, is trying to find a place that will take that substance. There is no problem with a final delivery destination, is there?
We're going to store it on site for the time being until we find a place or we find some other solution for it, which we're working on.
Will that be a smell over the summer, like with the heat and that?
The
The
storage,
the storage of the sludge?
No, it's in these big tubes, rubber tubes, and sealed.
Okay.
Nothing further? Thank you for that report. New business. Someone I should have introduced maybe at the start of this meeting is our interim CAO, Mark Brown, and this subject is the Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities Conference reapproval for Mr. Brown to attend. Would anyone like to speak on this?
I brought this forward as a possibility of our interim CAO joining us councillors at AVICC as support and perhaps networking opportunities within AVICC communities, looking at our potential of recruiting in the future. This might be an opportunity for some networking. Given that 2 councillors are not attending, I thought it would be appropriate that Mr. Brown join us and that we pay for just registration for Mr. Brown to attend the conference. So I will move approval of Mr. Brown joining us and paying for registration for such conference in Nanaimo.
Seconded by Councillor Sandu. Any discussion?
And if I may, I think in the past, we have not had CAOs join us at ABICC, and I think it's important that you have that support around you when you are networking or if you are meeting with ministers or economic development officers or other options within that entity, that we have that support with us. And we're not all just taking notes and bringing it back. We have that corporate support to lead us in the discussions moving forward. So I think it's important to have that advisement with us.
I mean no disrespect when I say this, but it is true. Our former CAO did not attend the AVICCs. He felt that it wasn't really a financial good thing to do for him with the connections there. Councillor Womack and I are going, and I was a little bit disappointed when you're saying just 2 councillors are going, as if, you know, we are not responsible to support the town and present ourselves and gather back information. So I'm not totally against this, but I do say that we go. I've never missed one. It's very important for us to go. I wish all of mayor and council were going. I know some years it does sound like things are the same, but we get different people speaking, different guest speakers, different clinics, and you learn a lot. And you're coordinating with all the other municipal people on Vancouver Island and the Sunshine Coast. And sometimes they've had the same kind of issue in their town that we've had, and we learn a lot from that. So I just want to say it is a valuable thing for us to go to. Our CAO felt the UBCM was more important because it's all of BC that goes to that, with also a lot of the ministers and things like that. So I just had to say that, if that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I know UBCM is good when you're on the provincial stage, but being that Mark is here on the island and has a lot of connections, I think it might be beneficial for him to go. We're looking for a lot of people, from water treatment operators to permanent CAO. There's other staff places that might opportunities, but I think it would be, you have a different network than we do as counselors. And I think that for this one time, it would be advantageous for us to send you.
I have now been to all the conferences, FCM, UBCM, and AVICC. And what is frustrating to me is that I can take on all the information that I can, but I can't really get here and just pass it on this table or sit down with staff and force it down their throat. I'd rather have staff be there and hear the information for themselves. As far as attending AVICC, I've never had such a waste of my time than last year's AVICC. The speakers were horrific and I did not get anything out of it, and I don't feel like it'd be money well spent by our taxpayers to send me, and that's the reason why I'm not going to it. But I just want to reiterate that to me it's important that staff are there, because that is really who this information is for. We can only pass on so much from us speaking at this point once every 2 weeks. So obviously I support. So if there's no more discussion, there's a motion on the floor to approve Mr. Brown's attendance. I will call that question. All those in favour? That motion is passed. Are there any notices of motion? Mr. Brown's going to get a fright from how much that phone rings when we go to the next portion, which is question period. For anyone off-site, you can phone 250-749-3239 if you have any questions. If there's anyone in person, you may stand up, state your name. You've got 3 minutes to speak on anything that is on the agenda tonight.
Thank you. My name is Bill Garrett. I'm at 220 Lake Park Road. First off, greetings to Mr. Brown. Welcome. First off, I was pleased to see that you passed the motion to have the display. I think the councillor who objected to that vote was overlooking the amount of people that go to the post office. Almost everybody in this town goes there at least once a week, and that's a lot of traffic. The other thing I wanted to mention relative to the strata letter, any of the council members or staff that wish to come and see the issue firsthand, I'm at 220 Lake Park Road. Just stop by, knock on my door. I'm home 90% of the time, and I'll walk you down and show you what the problem actually is. I mean, we're talking a good $500,000 expense here. Thank you.
Did you have any questions, Mr. Garrett? Are there any questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're looking, if there's no more questions, we're looking for a motion to move the meeting into camera. I'd go to Mr. Brown to state why we're going into camera.
The reasons for going in camera are Section 92 of the Community Charter requires that before a meeting or part of a meeting is closed to the public, the council must state by resolution that the meeting is to be closed, and the basis on which the meeting is to be closed falls under the following sections of the Community Charter. Section 91C, labor relations or other employee relations. Section 91G, litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality. And finally, Section 91K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service.
I move we go in camera.
So we have motion by Mayor McGonigal, seconded by Councillor Vermarker. All those in favour? We're going in camera. Thank you very much.